Spider-Man freshman year. The talk of the town of the panel, mostly because we don't know if it's canon or not. This is part of the sort of confusing aspects of this show, which I kind of find exciting. A lot of discussion about this, but first let's just mention that another season of Spider-Man freshman year is already greenlit, and it's called Spider-Man Sophomore Year. I notice a theme here. And that's coming out, I believe, like the year after. Now, freshman year is actually not scheduled to come out until 2024. And the reason people are confused about the canon here is like, you've got stuff like this, where Daredevil, and not just Daredevil, Charlie Cox voicing Daredevil, is going to be in the show. First of all, love this look for Daredevil. Awesome. Indicative of the suit I think he'll wear in the Echo series. We heard he's going to get his Shadowlands kind of, black and red Daredevil costume. This is in freshman year, and you're like, oh, like that's hyped up. Here's a bunch of villains that are going to be in the show. You got your Dr. Otto Octavius. You've got Scorpion, Chameleon, Rhino, Tarantula. Tons of fun characters here, okay? Now, here kind of comes maybe one of the first potential canon-breaking things, right? They laugh at Dr. Otto Octavius in Spider-Man No Way Home, and yet here he is. So if our Peter had interactions with Doc Ock before Spider-Man No Way Home in MCU 616 canon, then yes, there is a conflict, and that would need explained. Here's a bunch of characters that are also going to be in the show. You've got Harry Osborn, Amadeus Cho, and Nico Minuro, who I believe is this gal and was in The Runaways, and she has the mystical scepter thing that's very, very powerful, if I'm not mistaken. And so, again, conflicts. How does this work within canon? When Norman comes into our universe, he says there's no Oscorp, there's no, tower, his son, all these things don't exist. That's what he says, right? And so it would be weird if there was a Norman Osborn and a Harry Osborn in that universe, and then comments like that are made, right? So, again, conflict. We don't really know, like, how does that play out? How does that work? We're not 100% sure. There's also some really cool shots of Norman Osborn in somewhat of the same setup. Yeah, here it is right here. Somewhat of the same setup of Tony Stark being the mentor here. This is super similar to the shot in Civil War. And so people are like, bro, this cannot be canon to the 616. Like, there's no way. And I think it could be, actually. I think it could be. Now, is this going to retcon things? Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But I think it would be kind of crazy if he had interactions with Norman before he had interactions with Tony. And then maybe some of freshman year is actually going to take place after Civil War. You know what I mean? The first movie takes place completely after Civil War. Maybe some of this show does as well. I'm not really sure. There's also the possibility that maybe the timeline was altered. Because I think this is also important to understand. We're going to get this show in 2024, a year before two Avengers movies, 6 months apart. Okay, and don't worry, we've got a lot to talk about with regards to Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars. Please don't worry. We shall talk about that. It shall be talked about. But I do think it's important to keep in context that this animated series is coming out a year before that. And perhaps some, let's call it Kang Wang-elation, some multiversal stuff could be happening. I don't know. So maybe it's new 616 retcon canon. Maybe it's 838 or some other universe. And if it is another universe, I hope that this Peter is Like, I hope this Peter is not just a throwaway Peter, right? Like, I hope this isn't just like, oh, well, what if this happened and blah, 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 blah. Like, no, I want stakes. I want impact. I want this person and this character to arrive on Battleworld, on Secret Wars. I want this person to be involved with what's going on. Otherwise, it's just a fun Spider-Man show, which is fine. But that's not the MCU promise. That's not the juice. That's not what this party's about.